as the iRacing Skip Barber Racing School Championship comes in to the final 4 weeks in 2018 Season 1. We come to the racetrack that started it all for us just a few months ago for these Wednesday night broadcasts, and we have a new championship points leader. Join us in just a moment's time for the 9th round of Skip Barber Racing School Championship live from Mazda Raceway Laguna, Seca.
Like a movie, just like a storybook. We are the future, we're the ones they won't overlook. It's time to be the hero. Like you've never seen. Like you've never seen. Looking for a hero. Just like in a dream. Just like in a dream.
Welcome back here to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live as coverage begins of your Skip Barber Racing School Championship. Qualifying currently underway as we are going to be having the grid set for this 14-lap race here in just a handful of minutes. Randy Chinitz, Alvin Nieves, Hugo Louis bringing you all the action here from this 11-corner icon of American motorsport. Alan, there's not a lot of racetracks that have the history and have the sort of, let's say, difficulty level here in North America that we have here at Laguna Seca.
And this is one of the few tracks that I would say it's one of the fan favorites, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. I think all of us in our childhood, we got introduced to this track all the way back in 1999 or maybe early 2000, and what a magnificent facility it is. From the moment you go from the green flag into the Andretti hairpin, and then you go a little bit, you'll take a couple of right turns, and then once you take that left turn, that long sweeping left turn, well, you start the hill climb towards the infamous corkscrew. And for sure, that is one of the most exciting corners here, not only here in iRacing, but also in the whole world.
Definitely one of the most prolific and most well-known circuits in this sort of market because it's been in so many different games and simulators for so long. But of course, only laser scan to millimeter accuracy here on the iRacing service. Qualifying currently underway, as we said, and currently pole position held by the number 1 of Adecobo Lopez with 136.77. Adam Reinlitz is close, so he just did a 139, but Adecobo Lopez improved to a 36.0. So the lap times are coming very, very quickly down here, and a couple other times have gotten competitive as well. But talking about this Laguna Seca racetrack, Calvin, it's going to be one of those racetracks, typically in faster cars, it has the sort of issue of the tracks that we've seen this season, such as Zandvoort, Zolder, can be a little bit rough to race in some of the faster cars. But because of these cars not having the top end, having a lot of drag, you have a lot of time to slipstream down that front straightaway and make moves in towards corner number 2 at the Andretti hairpin. And we saw a fantastic race when we kicked off this season, I believe in 2017, season 2 it was. That's how long it's been between Cy Andrew and Greg Seitz.
That'll be one of the big questions in here today for these drivers. Yes, these cars, because they are relatively underpowered, I think they suit this track just a little better, perhaps like the in comparison to the relatively high-powered GT3 car. So I think we are going to see some great moves in here. One thing that we are going to see for sure, though, sometimes we don't see that many moves going into the corkscrew, but I think with this car, I think this is the type of race, the type of car that kind of presents itself with the opportunity to see moves perhaps in places that we are not used to seeing them.
But you can definitely make moves up there at the corkscrew. We've seen some fantastic maneuvers at that part of the racetrack over the years. Of course, the one probably most famous is known just simply as the pass done by the great Alex Zanardi. I almost said the late great. He's not dead. That would have been awkward. But for the most part, everyone's done with their qualifying laps, it seems like, or has put in a single hot lap and is happy with it. We have a couple cars on track, but they've already exceeded their laps limit, so they're just basically out there cruising around, getting a little bit of practice in. Everyone else pretty much has times and are done and are pretty much sorted with them, but pretty competitive field in this one. Alvin up and down, 2.5 seconds separating first to last place on this grid. That's a little bit more competitive than I think we typically see on a week-by-week basis.
Definitely, that is very competitive. Now, if you want to speak about competitive, our new points leader, Philippe Lebert, right now in P number 16, I think he exceeded his allotted lap time, so I think this is going to be a really interesting race. Him starting all the way back there with the points lead, and also Diogo Francisco starting in P6. He has been pretty much the points leader throughout the whole season so far, but after last week, well, this is going to be a really interesting battle for until the end of the season, for sure.
Drop week starting to come into effect in this part of the championship. For those who are unaware, 12 weeks is what an iRacing championship consists of for the official series. You get 4 weeks. Your 4 worst results get dropped, and because of that, Diogo Francisco, he dropped to the 2nd place in points. Philippe Bear, he now is the top mark by a full 60-point margin over Diogo Francisco. Justin Tipton is in 3rd with Jordi Lopez and Andrew Picario. They round out your top 5. You can see the list on your screen right here, right now. But with that, we have your starting grid coming at you now that qualifying is officially scored complete. And let's bring you round number 9 from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Adecobo Lopez, the only driver to get under the ones. He does a 36-0 with David Pina Jimenez starting on the outside of him. Adam Rylance will be in 3rd with Jordi Lopez starting in that 4th spot. Justin Tipton and Diogo Francisco, they're going to be 2 drivers to watch from row number 3, especially Diogo. We've seen him be aggressive, and him being a points leader up until recently, I think he's going to want a very good result. Kane Halliburton was going to roll off in 7th with Andre Shibalik in 8th. Andrew Picario and Martin Cruz, they round out your top 10. Eduardo Barrichello is in 11th with Jesus Martin Tamero. In 12th, Carl Dronke. In 13th, Sarah Savage. 14th, Derek Issa. 15th, Philippe Bear. 16th, way far down the order from where we're used to seeing him, was Tony Vallejo Caballo. In 17th, Steve Fakaye in 18th, and Daniel Forgarini rounding out 19th position. For those who are curious, yes, Eduardo Barrichello is the son of Rubens, so should be an exciting 14 laps of action around this place. Primary passing zone will definitely be into the Andretti hairpin at, interestingly enough, because this is the United States and you have to be confusing with your corner numbers, turn number 2. But revs are up, lights are out, and we are green here in the Skip Barber. This is a good jump pretty much up and down the field because everyone's just trying to get themselves slotted. Single file on the run up and then back down this hill in towards corner number 2. Hard on the brakes just about for everybody, and now the slicing and dicing begins here. The fight is on for 3rd. Jordi Lopez Jr. tries to make something stick on Adam Rylance, doesn't work. He might drop back another spot as we're through the Andretti hairpin 2x2 clean for the first time. I don't see anyone off in the dirt just yet.
Everybody clean so far, and Justin Tipton had the opportunity to take P4 out of Jordi Lopez Jr., but everybody decided to slot in single file. But I have to say, Adecobo Lopez, he also got the start that he wanted, and here's a good advice for everybody that's running right behind him. Don't let him go. We saw it last round at Sanford. If you give him just one chance, he will run away with this race, and pretty much it'll be race over for everybody else.
Here they come up to the Rahal straight for the first time. Very tricky left-hander at turn 6 as you try to get yourself kicked in, and it catches out one driver way off into the dirt out near the tires. Who is that? That is Jesus Martin Tamero. There's a curve on the inside that you cannot hit. It is basically, it feels like it's taller than the Empire State Building when you clip it, and it just basically upsets the car. Well done by Tamero to keep it out of the wall, but he might have a little bit of damage. That curve in real life is known to damage suspension on these Skip Barber race cars here at Laguna Seca. But down through corner number 10 and up into the final corner, this about 120 or so degree hairpin, and the entire field single file gets on the brakes for the first time and smoothly applies throttle application as we head down towards corner number 1 and 2 for the second time, but for the first time here in this one long line of cars. No big breakaway here in this field just yet. David Pina Jimenez, he's going to look to the outside of Adecobo Lopez. You can sometimes make this move work if you're far enough alongside, but David not nearly enough so. And Adecobo Lopez is going to retain the lead for now, and Adam Rylance, he wants that second spot.
Adam Rylance definitely had an opportunity there to take P2 out of David Peña Jimenez, but I think he was playing the smarter game because they know that there's really no point in fighting. The more you fight, you give the advantage to Araikoa Lopez. So right now, just running single file, trying to make sure that perhaps later in the race, he will try to go for a move.
So through this left-hander at turn number 5, begin climbing the hill at Laguna Seca. Once again, you climb this hill for about 30 to 20, about 25, 30, maybe 35 seconds over the course of the lap, and then you're all the way back down to the bottom of it through the run at the course. David Jimenez still trying to deal with Adam Rylance, as well as a couple drivers behind him. One driver way off on the right, a little bit slow. That's Kane Halliburton. I think not getting the run onto the Rahal straight quite as nicely as they would like through the corkscrew once again, as the altimeter just starts to drop on these Skip Barber racing cars through the long rainy curve at turn 9, and then into corner number 10, where the camber is absolutely fantastic. Nice banked bull corner at the apex, and you can carry a lot of speed through turn 10 and then back up into 11 once again, as it's still a long line of cars here, all 19 of them line astern, as I think David P. Jimenez will not be close enough to make a move in towards corner number 2 this time.
You know, there is something that I really don't want to imagine. If in real life, sometimes you get a bit of ear pain when you go into high altitudes. That I don't want to imagine in real life how it feels going through the corkscrew and then going out, feeling that pop in the ears. I think that is something that I really don't want to imagine. But now going back into the race, it kind of looks like Adam Rylance. Adam Rylance has settled into a rhythm here with running in P3 just behind David Peña Jimenez, and David Peña Jimenez was just a little bit wide, definitely trying to push to keep with Araikoa Lopez.
That's something you always have to do in these Skip Barber cars. Every time Ade shows up, you know he's probably going to be the class of the field. Want to check in on Felipe Bear. He's currently wheel to wheel with Derek Issa through corner number 5, and he's going to drop that spot to Derek Issa. So going the wrong way right now is Felipe Bear as they work through turn 6 and up the Rahal straight. Once again, a little bit of contact as the 14 car flips that curve on the inside. That's Tony Caballo, and they're going to be 3 wide up this Rahal straight in the back of the field. I don't know how you're going to get this sorted on the run into the corkscrew, but they managed to do so. 16 looks up the inside. That's Daniel Forgarini of Tony, and he's going to be able to make that job done. Very physical racing here at the back of the field, Alvin, and up that Rahal straight. I don't know of a scarier bit of racetrack to be 3 wide.
Definitely, that is the last place that you want to be 3 wide, but somehow they managed to make it work. But definitely Felipe Weber, he is struggling for sure. We know that he is a good driver and all, but if there is a track that you do not want to start all the way back in the field, this is one of those racetracks. And unfortunately for Felipe Weber, he definitely has his work cut out, and it's going to be a really tough one today.
Everyone nice and patient on the run through corner number 2, the double apex hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Now on the run through 3 and 4. Everyone still being nice and patient with one another. I haven't seen anything overly aggressive come from people trying to pick up spots. That said, Felipe Bear, he's trying to move his way back forward. He just made a move on Tony Caballo to pick that 17th spot back up. So that 2 car, as damaged as it currently seems to be, he wants to start moving his way back forward as they work through turn 4. Nice little short straightaway here on the run up towards turn 5 to start working back up the hill. But I think the main thing here, Alvin, is that we haven't seen, we just saw that 3 wide as we are getting a look at the positions lost and gains, excuse me. We've seen a couple aggressive moves, for example, that 3 wide up the Rahal straight just 1 lap ago, but we haven't seen people be really aggressive trying to pick up spots. It's mostly just come as a result of people making a mistake, particularly there at turn 6. We've seen a few cars get that corner wrong, clip that curb and run off wide, and it stacks some cars up behind them. But we've not seen any, silly dive bombs or silly moves other than that.
And I think pretty much this race comes down to patience, because everybody knows that there's really no point in trying to push right now. Yes, it is a 14-lap race. It is basically a sprint race for sure, but there's still plenty of racing to go. And considering how close the field is right now, if you're trying to go for a move, you have to make sure that you can make that move safe. Otherwise, the slightest mistake that you make, well, and this is a train, and there's a possibility that you will go all the way to the back.
In towards corner number 2 once again for all your race leaders and all of these drivers, really, from your race leader of Araikoa Lopez all the way through to the 7th place runner of Kane Halliburton, being nice and patient still. See a little bit of damage on these race cars, probably from some stack ups at the start, but outside of that, everyone's being nice, cool, calm, and collected.
Definitely for sure, but David Peña Jimenez really pushing really hard again. And I think, Randy, that is one of the turns here that you can push hard, go off track, and perhaps not risk losing the car going into turn number 4. Yes, you can push, but you also have to be careful. But it kind of seems like the risk of losing the car is really low. So look for many other drivers to try to push if they want to go for an overtake, especially going into turn number 5.
But up the hill, leaving a couple corners after turn number 5, but through 7, 8, and 8A at the corkscrew, they all come once again, and everyone's through nice and clean. That corner hasn't caused too much havoc with anyone just yet, as everyone else is going to be cycling through, and I don't think we're going to have any changes of position here up and down this entire field. Still have all 19 cars running on this racetrack as they come now up towards the final corner. Once again, coming to the end of lap 5, beginning of lap 6. And what do you think, Galvin, on this racetrack? When do you start picking up the aggressiveness? Because this is somewhat uncharacteristic from what we're typically seeing. We typically see people get a lot more aggressive. We typically see a little bit more breakaway as David Peña Jimenez gets a bit of a run. Is he going to slot it down the inside? Eddie left him a lane, but no, he's not going to do so. I think you should go for that opportunity. Eddie Lopez just definitely left and full car width and some change to that inside. I think David could have gone for that if he wanted.
I think he could have gone for that move for sure, but I think he has played more the smart game. I think he knows that he may be faster than Araikoa Lopez throughout the whole race, and I think he is trying to save the car towards the last couple of laps. So we are going to see perhaps a little bit of mind games perhaps between these two. However, pay attention to Adam Bryland running right now in P3. He's also showing some patience, and he's starting to show his car here and there, and he may be another player towards the end of the race as well. And also, Jordi Lopez, not so far behind in P4, but little by little closing the gap.
Everyone just little by little maintaining their margins here, starting to get a little bit of a breakaway here as we get to the top of the corkscrew. Jordi Lopez and Andrew Precario, that's a gap that's opened up. That's probably because Andrew just picked that spot up for P number 5 away from Justin Titton as they work themselves back down this hill once again through corner number 10 and in towards 11 for the 6th time around this racetrack, coming to the halfway mark at the end of the next lap, at the end of lap 7. As they work themselves through this final corner. Still looking for just any fights. We now have 2 4-car gaggles pretty much because of that racing for the 5th position. Top 4 of Lopez, Jimenez, Rylands, and Lopez Jr. all very, very tightly contested on the racetrack. Then the second little gaggle of Precario, Tipton, Francisco, and Halliburton, they're all tied as well, as Kane doesn't quite get the braking zone in towards turn number 2 right. And David, that's David Diago Francisco. Little bit of slip at the corner of corner number 2, and they're going to have to be defensive in towards 3, and that's going to cost him a little bit of time.
Cost him a little bit of time for sure, and you know, we were talking about him being the points leader at the beginning of the season all the way to week number 7, and now running in P2, and running in 2nd place in the championship. Right now in this race, running in P number 7. I think this is the type of race that he wants. Yes, Felipe Leber is really struggling, but also Diego Francisco. He has to understand that 8 weeks have passed by, so now you are trying to eliminate your worst races, and I think finishing in P7 here, it may not help his chances at securing the championship at the end of the season.
And at the same time as someone like Felipe Bear running in the 17th place out of 19 cars, you might be okay with this P7 finish to get it as a bit of a banker. Who really knows that they're working themselves down through Rainy Curve once again. Do your race leaders, and still everyone being nice, cool, calm, and collected as we approach half distance in this event here in just a moment. I'm still just looking for anyone being aggressive. We have some side by side. This is Martin Cruz through Rainy Curve. He gets it wrong, and he ends up facing the wrong way in that number 15 car. He was trying to fight. Who was that he was fighting with? It was a 10 machine of what's that? Derek Issa down through that corner, and that's not typically a place you want to go side by side, Alvin, but he almost had it. But unfortunately for him, a little bit of oversteer sends him facing the wrong way through.
Definitely the last thing he wanted. We said that we perhaps the corkscrew, one of the most famous corners that you may not see some moves, but in these cars we have seen the drivers that definitely trying to stick it to their opponents, and unfortunately for Martin Cruz, well, a little bit of side-by-side contact, and it looks like it's gonna be race over for him.
I say it's not typically a part of the racetrack you like to make moves, but as someone who's run the BMW GT3 car around this place, believe me, that is a nice, fun place and passing opportunity for people who leave that door wide open, especially if you're comfortable through that long, long left-hander. Up the hill now through turn number 6 for your race leaders and under that Mazda Raceway GoPro bridge, then up towards the Mazda bridge as you run through this Rahal straightaway, then hard on the brakes. David Pina Jimenez with a bit of a run. Might be able to look at the opportunity here, but no, not going to do so. Through the corkscrew single file for your race leaders once again. You see slightly different lines taken by some through that section of the racetrack, but everyone pretty much gets on the same railway as they work themselves down through Rainy Curve. Let's see how it runs through the second gaggle, and pretty much same story there as well. Looking for any more clumps of cars that are racing really, really hard. Eduardo Barrichello and Andrei Shibalik, they have gotten close out here on the racetrack in the 11 and the 19.
Definitely close there for what is P9 and P10 between those two, but now coming here into the last turn, Andrei Shibalik getting a nice run, and Eduardo Barrichello just a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 11, but it seems like he got a good run. Let's see now coming here into the start-finish line. Let's see if he can get a run here coming into the Andretti hairpin. Now coming here, starting a little bit downhill into what is turn number 1 for all intents and purposes, and looks into the outside, going side by side, and it looks like he may get it. No, he runs this a little bit wide into the other side, and now he may be in risk of losing P10 as well.
So a little bit over aggressive there from Ruben's bloodline as they work themselves now through corner number 3, and because of that, he's lost himself a lot of time out there on the racetrack, somewhere in the realm about 6 or 7 tenths. He doesn't have a lot of time to try to reel that back down in those. It's going to be 5 laps to go, and he's going to have to deal with a charging Carl Dronke, who's going to be looking at that mistake and maybe be keen on making Eduardo push himself into a mistake somewhere else on the racetrack. He's just checking back in with your race leaders as they're now back at the top of the hill on the braking zone in towards the corkscrew. Nothing cheeky being thrown just yet as they work themselves back down the hill. Second group, pretty much same story as well for those 4, as well as checking back in now once again with Andre and Eduardo and Carl. And well, Eduardo's already reeled that gap back in. I think that 19 car might be the quickest car of this little group here, Alvin, but Carl Dronke showing good pace down the hill on the run through Rainy Curve.
Definitely showing some fantastic pace for sure there. Eduardo Barrichello trying to defend P10, but trying to get a look here on the front of the field. It looks like we may have lost one driver from that leading battle. Jordi Lopez Jr. going into the corkscrew. Perhaps he got a little bit too greedy with those curves, and well, after Zanardi made the pass, let's say that some series have clamped down on that turn, and well, iRacing just says, nope, you're gonna have to slow down for sure, and now he's lost contact with the leaders.
A little bit of a slowdown there from Jordi, unfortunately, but still out there and running, and thankful that he's going to be thankful for. Like I said, 5 laps to go here in this one as Adecobo Lopez continues to lead over David Jimenez and Adam Ryland, so they run towards corner number 5. This is going to be the window of opportunity, I think, where people start getting really aggressive, especially for David Pina Jimenez. This is one of the best races we've seen him have in quite a while on the Skip Barber, is being able to keep pace with Adecobo Lopez like this through turn number 6. No opportunity to have here. You can never really make any passes stick here, even a kind of awkward place, even if you're dealing with slower traffic in a mixed class style format. Up the hill, 3 car pulled out of the draft up the Rahal straight, and now through this corkscrew. No one's going to make the move just yet, but I have a feeling that David Pina Jimenez, he's going to really start harassing this one car when they get to the Andretti hairpin this time through.
Definitely, David Pena Jimenez has shown his racecraft throughout this race so far, and being able to keep up with Adecobo Lopez, that is not an easy feat to say the least. So I'm kind of interested because we rarely see Adecobo Lopez being challenged this hard towards the end of the race. We usually see that car number 1 usually running away with the race and having a nice 4, maybe 5 second gap and just able to manage it, but in this race that hasn't been the case. So really interesting what he was able to do. David Pena Jimenez trying to get a look at the outside, but not quite there yet.
Able to cut it back down the inside. Is a little bit better of maintaining the margin than we saw from Eduardo Barrichello a handful of laps ago. That was deeper down the order, and now through corner number 3, they're going to shift through the right-hander. You see, he really didn't even lose much time at all. That's one of the nice things about that Andretti hairpin, Alvin, on this racetrack is you can slot into that outside groove and really force that driver to run the tight line, and as long as you don't overcommit to it, you can pretty much get back in line, and it's really not a big time loss, just maybe a couple tenths, and compare that to a lot of places on this racetrack where you go side by side, especially here up towards corner number 6. You go side by side here, you're talking about dropping a full second just through that corner and then up the following Rahal straight.
And that is pretty much one of the big questions. However, going into the Andretti hairpin, you also have to be really careful because usually that if you're way too outside, it can get way too dirty, and that's the last thing you want. But now coming here into the corkscrew, the top 3 still running very close. The gap between them 3 just less than half a second.
Half a second across your top 3 of Adecobo Lopez, David Pina Jimenez, and Adam Rylance. They work themselves in towards corner number 11 for the 11th time in this one, coming to lap 12. So 3 laps to go on this board as they run towards start finish. Adecobo Lopez trying to just look in his mirrors and see where David is going to throw the move. There's a little bit of a car width down to the inside, but Adecobo Lopez is going to cut it off this time. He didn't do that a handful of laps ago, and David didn't take advantage of it. That might be something that David comes back to bite David, as I think Addy's going to get more aggressive with defending that inside line as the laps start to count on Alvin. Because we saw down here as he went braking into turn 2, Addy had those left side tires pinned right up against that white line.
It definitely is, but you also have to be careful. Yes, there may seem like there is an opening on the left side, but you also have to be careful because we also have to remember that the pit exit and pretty much the racetrack are separated by just a couple of cones and delineators. And on these cars, well, let's say that you really don't want to hit those cones. It will cause, they may look kind of inoffensive, but touch one of those in these cars and you're gonna get plenty of damage in the front wing.
Well, we don't want to look too far away from the lead fight. The second group is also very close with the likes of Precario, Titten, and in fact, 4-car of Jordi Lopez slotting up the inside of Andrew Precario down here at the corkscrew, and that's actually the most comfortable path I've ever seen made at that part of the racetrack. Well done by Jordi. And then the third group, same thing's happening as well. Eduardo Barrichello just made a move on Andre to pick up the 9th spot, but Andre throws the move back at him down into the corkscrew, and he takes that 9th spot back. So we have 3 gaggles of cars here coming up towards the final 2 laps on this racetrack. Not sure if we're going to be able to cover all of them at once, as Halliburton is side by side dealing with Tipton. Still trying to check back in with your race leaders. That has somewhat spread itself back up, though, as we got 2 laps left in this one.
2 laps left, and this leading group, it kind of seems like they are trying to save the cars for the final lap. It will be really interesting what David Peña Jimenez is able to do. He has been able to keep with Adecobo Lopez, but do not discard Adam Rylance. He has been running comfortably in P3, kind of silently, so kind of interesting if he wants to make a move. Going into this second group, it kind of looks like Jordi Lopez Jr. Running comfortably in P4. Yes, he was running in that leading group not so long ago, but now relegated to the second group and having to defend from this big gaggle of cars. And now coming into group number 3, Andrzej Belek and Eduardo Barrichello, they have been putting a fantastic show so far.
A couple mistakes coming from Jordi Lopez Jr. as we're on the final lap and a half around this magnificent Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. David Pina Jimenez is a little bit wide up as he runs up the Rahal straight. This may give Adam Rylance a bit of an opportunity on the braking zone into the corkscrew, but no, not quite close enough was Adam to be able to make the move stick. Down the hill, they're going to come here for the penultimate time, so let's check in with your fight in this second group. They're going to remain line astern as well, so everyone being relatively calm as we get to this next fight. And then, of course, Andrzej and Eduardo, the battle that's been really developing the last handful of laps. That's going to be something that we're keen to watch on as well. Move being thrown by Derek Issa on Steve Ficari. He's going to make that spot stick. Actually, he was defending the 18 of Steve Ficari as they work themselves all back down the hill. But race leaders, come down your start-finish straight. White flags in the air. 1 more lap to go as Adecobo Lopez commits to the inside groove. A little bit of a gap there at the moment, but once he gets through this left-hand kink, he's going to completely cut it off. David Pina Jimenez is going to have to do it the long way around, or somewhere you don't typically make passes around this racetrack at Laguna Seca. Not going to stick through turn 2 and through turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. You do not have any opportunity to make a move. One driver just lost the motor. Adam Rylance from 3rd. Motor just popped. Think he got it wrong on a downshift, and that's going to be the end of his night of racing here in this one. Maybe he can somehow limp it back. That car is heavily smoking. He's going to have no opportunity to pick up any more spots. 3 car, though. running very well in the run in towards turn 5, back up the hill as we start looking forward towards the Rahal Straight. That's going to be David's next and only opportunity, I think, unless he can make the move set up at corner number 11. The one Machina Lopez does not get turn 6 and the run onto the Rahal Straight perfect. David has an opportunity working the slipstream up the hill as he comes to the crest. Will he slot it up the inside? Addy leaves the move open. The 3 Machine locks the rear tire. Well done by Addy to be able to cut that off, and David Pita Jimenez makes a slight mistake that's going to drop him off the rear bumper of your race leader. Second group coming through of Jordi Lopez Jr., Precario Halliburton. They're all single file down through the corkscrew, and Eduardo Barrichello, he's fighting with Andre Shibalik down through this sector of the racetrack as well, but Eduardo doesn't quite get the move done. But off the final corner for your race leader of Adecobo Lopez, he is going to win round number 9 here live from Laguna Seca. Jordi Lopez Jr., though, will he be able to hold on to the 3rd spot as Adam Rylance is falling like a brick? Andrew Becario is working the slipstream. This entire Jaguar cars is going to finish single file. Checking now, back in with our next battle between Andre and Eduardo. Eduardo's managed to hold on to the spot down through Rainy Curve in turn 10, but working the slipstream is Andre, but no, not close enough as they all cross the stripe, pretty much single file as well. And we just had, I think, a half dozen or so battles, Alvin, all collapsed down on that final lap.
It was a fantastic race for sure. Nobody giving up until the last moment here in the race. And yes, that leading group, it kind of seemed kind of sleepy, but towards the end, Adam Rylance, looking that he may had a chance, he blew the engine, and now he finished all the way back in what is P number 8. But Adecobo Lopez, he showed once again, no matter how much you give in a lead, you can give in half a second, you can give in 5 seconds, he will be able to manage it cool, calm, and collected under pressure for sure.
And he definitely had an opportunity to David Pita Jimenez, I think, to make a move on Addy earlier in this race, and he chose not to do it. He chose just to be patient and work with that one car, and I think that was the one opportunity David had to really make a move on that one car and take the win, because Addy didn't slip up from that point forward. But with that, let's go down your post-race results following round number 9 here at Laguna Seca. Adecobo Lopez takes the race win over David Jimenez. Jordi Lopez Jr. rounds out your podium after a slight mistake on the downshift from Adam Rylance, shifts him way down the order. Andrew Becario will finish 4th, Kane Halliburton 5th, Justin Tipton 6th. Diogo Francisco is probably going to make great headway on Philippe Libert after Philippe finishes way down the order. He finishes 7th, though, does Diogo. Adam Rylance finishes 8th. Eduardo Barrichello, almost as much fun to watch tonight as his dad was through his career, puts on a good show to move up 2 spots into P number 9. Then Andre Shibalik rounds out your top 10. Carl Dronke is in 11th. Sarah Savage is in 12th. Philippe Libert 13th. Daniel Forgarini 14th, 15th, Jesus Martin Tamaro, Tony Caballo in 16th, Steve Focacci in 17th, Martin Cruz 18th, and Derek Issa rounds out this 19-car field. And as we move on down the order, we go to a very interesting circuit next week, Alvin, at Circuit of the Americas, and we're running the West layout that the V8 Supercars ran when they went to that racetrack in real life. That's a very, very tricky, almost trickier than the full circuit there at Circuit of the Americas.
Very tricky indeed. And then one of the questions, I'll leave this to all the audience. What are the chances, considering how wide this track is, we may see 5, even 6 wide going into turn number 1?
Well, if you want to see 5 or 6 wide, there's a couple places you might be able to get it here on the next couple days here on RaceSpot TV. Tomorrow, the American Dirt Series returns at 8 p.m. Eastern as their Super Late Model Series kicks off from USA International Speedway. We tuned in with their 360 sprint cars on Monday. It was a fantastic show. It's a very unique league that is run using the dirt here on the iRacing service. Be sure to tune in to that here just tomorrow night. And of course, on Friday night Dirt Night returns the Rallycross cars, the World of Outlaw Craftsman Super Late Models, and the World of Outlaw Sprint cars. They will be putting on a fantastic show on Friday night. So back to back here on the weekdays for the U.S. time slots for us here at RaceSpot TV. But from everyone here, from myself, Randy Cheneth, Alvin Nieves, and I suppose maybe even Hugo Louis Calmon. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.